Hey everybody, What's It Fox Gaming here. I'd like to start a brand new series today. I've tried out quite a few different builds, and I will be testing out more PvE and PvP builds as the game and the meta progresses within TU10. But this new series is predominantly going to focus on named items. Each new video will be demonstrating, this is in between my build videos, I will be demonstrating a named weapon and a named armor piece, usually within the same loadout, and ideally with a bit of synergy between the two, to try and maybe bring to light some of the name pieces that don't get used at the moment that might potentially be able to work their way into your PvP games, whether it's Dark Zone or Conflict. So today's video is going to be focused on the Perfect Clutch backpack, which is the Devil's Due. It's a Seska piece, which is nice for the critical hit chance, and the Burnout, which is a named FAMAS. Now the FAMAS is an absolute monster in PvP even still, and actually in PvE as well. So and you know, what I've done is I've actually just built this into my traditional sort of striker set, which is going to give me the increased rate of fire and handling on this anyway. I do feel that these two talents are a little bit underrated, or these two named items. They're not meta, don't get me wrong, but they definitely have a place in the game. And if you are interested in testing out some different combinations, as we all know, I do like to promote build diversity, so we don't just see the same two builds in Conflict and the DZ. Check this out. Unlike a lot of content creators, I do like to go into the build details first and then put the Conflict gameplay afterwards. So if you don't want to watch the entire video, that's fine. You know, no one likes having to watch a load of Conflict footage and then look at the build afterwards if they just want to see the build. So, you know, I'd rather do it this way to help you guys out. Obviously, I appreciate the full video view. If you do want to see how terrible I am in Conflict, that's fine. But it does give you a good opportunity to see how these perks work. So, the name FAMAS Burnout. Now, this thing is actually really, really good. As you can see, I've got a nice roll here. I re-roll damage to targets out of cover on it. Perfectly on empty simply gives you a massive, massive weapon handling buff for 10 seconds when you reload on empty. I think the only bigger handling buff in the game at the moment is Braced, which is a chest talent that gives you 45% weapon handling, although I could be wrong there. So, as we all know, handling buffs the 4 weapon stats: accuracy, stability, reload speed, and swap speed. And it's 1 for 1 now, so 1% of handling is 1% of each of those stats, which is awesome. 40% is huge. I'm also going to be testing this out with the Devil's Due Perfect Clutch backpack. I've just incorporated this into my pretty much my standard striker build because, you know, rate of fire on a FAMAS is pretty beast, and Perfect Clutch, the way that this works is if you're below your 20% armor, any critical hit repairs 2.5% missing armor. This isn't buffed by incoming repairs anymore, but ultimately the faster you can get your critical hits off, the better. So that's why I use the FAMAS, because it's the fastest rate of fire AR in the game, and with striker it goes up to 1035 rounds per minute, which is ridiculous. I felt that Perfectly on Empty would benefit this because, of course, you don't want to be reloading whilst you're within that final 20%, as then you're not applying critical hits. So the big buff reload from this could be really strong. Now, in a previous video, I did state that the second part of the clutch talent here, the bottom paragraph, doesn't work, and I'll be honest, I was completely wrong there. It's very poorly written. The devs need to change how this is written because it's not clear how this works, but I will explain it and quickly demonstrate it in the firing line now, and then I'll load into a Conflict game. So the first part is if you blow 20% armor, critical hits repair 2.5% missing armor. I mean, that's pretty straightforward, right? If you're within that final sort of fifth of your health, you're just going to keep it topped off up to the 20%. So it can't go over the 20%. The way that I read this second part is, well, as it says, so kills allow you to repair up to 100% armor for 4 to 10 seconds based on the number of the number of red core attributes. So I was like, okay, that's pretty good. If I get a kill, it's going to repair my armor over a period of time. 4 seconds if I've got all reds, and 10 seconds if I've got all blues. So it's just a full 100% armor repair. That's actually not even remotely how it works. So I'll quickly demonstrate how it works. Okay, so I'm in my final 20% of health here. So the way that this works is you have to get a kill with the initial part activated, and then any future hits past that point will go over the 20%. So let's say I'm in my 20% health, and you need to be within that final 20%, and I get a kill, and I then go on to kill somebody else. Any future critical hit can heal me up to 100%, not just 20%. but the window duration is based on your red core attributes, so it's actually the other way around to what I thought. It lasts for up to 10 seconds if you have 6 reds on. So that means that if I go on to kill somebody else, I'm going to keep healing my health way past the 20%. So it's not very well written. So if I get a kill here, it will... Okay, right. Let's just get that all the way down. So now, it's going to keep going over. So it's actually kind of difficult to proc. It doesn't. I don't think this works very well. It's nowhere near as good as the old clutches, but it's not that bad in PvP. It's a bit complicated and it's a bit situational. I think the first part of it is better, the 20% armor. It just kind of keeps you there, and if you're firing very fast, then it's really easy to stay within that 20% whilst people are trying to gun you down. Quite strong against tank builds because they don't do as much damage, and you'll be able to burn through their intimidate overshields quite quickly to reduce their damage. But it's terrible against burst damage because they'll just go straight through that 20% and take you straight down. So shotguns, for example. So that's how clutch works. Can be useful, and I've actually put this on a 2 blue 4 red build because, you know, I'm feeling that's going to make me a little bit more tanky and not have to worry too much about armor. So let's move on to the Burnout. Now this is based on a FAMAS, which I still think is one of the best ARs in the game for PvP. 40% weapon handling is absolutely insane. What I'm going to do here is demonstrate the difference in recoil, stability, just everything really. So I'm going to fire a single clip into this wall here without any directional control from my right analog stick. I'm just going to hold down left trigger, fire, and let the crosshair go where it goes. I'm then going to reload, put my crosshair at the same place on the wall but a bit to the right, and do the same thing again without moving it in any way, just to see if I can keep it perfectly stable without actually controlling it. So let's do that now. So that's the standard pattern there. And then that's the new one. So it's a lot tighter, the recoil is better, the reload is better, and if you look at the bloom in the centre as well, like this one, the dots are kind of left, right, left, right, left, right. The bullet hole here are in a much more sort of streamlined pattern, just because it buffs both stability and accuracy. So pretty good. It's not bad, you know, because it buffs all of your weapon talents by 40%. And the good news is if you reload again after that, it doesn't, you know, halfway through the mag, you don't lose the perk. So if you watch the side of my gun, you'll see that it's lit up. And that bloom isn't moving at all. For a reload now, just to keep it. It just lasts for 10 seconds no matter what you do, unless of course you switch off of the weapon. So after that initial reload, you can just keep reloading midway through your clip. But if you do want to re-proc it, you'd have to expunge your mag again. The reason this works well with strikers and just on the FAMAS in general is it's a high rate of fire, so you get down to empty pretty quickly. It doesn't buff the very first reload though, bear that in mind. The perfect gun empty perk only procs after that first reload from empty. So this could potentially work, these two could potentially work with any build, high armor or not. I just want to try this for the low armor build, which might be a bad idea, just because, you know, even with the TTK increase and, you know, the fact that it takes longer to kill people, you can still get one shot quite easily with a low armor build. So I don't recommend running a low armor build unless you're a really good player. I'm a bit of an average Joe at this game, so I'm not great with low armor builds, but, you know, practice makes perfect. In fact, actually, I don't even know what my stats are. 1.94 kill to death ratio and 2.68 KDA, so that's not too bad actually. I know I used to be quite a ways over 2.0, but because I do so much theory crafting and I've been playing a lot of healer builds in PvP lately, I will actually upload that build in the very near future because it's really strong with the new gear set, their future initiative. It's pretty common now. I've seen a few people running it with tanks, so it's, you know, nothing revolutionary, but yeah, so, you know, I guess I'm not the worst player at PvP, but I certainly have a lot of work to do. So if I perform badly in any of these videos in a conflict game, don't take that as the build is bad, just take it as I suck. You know, I still encourage that you try it out for yourself and see what you think to it. If you do have any weapons that you would like to see, you know, any other sort of named weapons, I do have quite a few, and if not, what I'll do, if anybody sort of posts in the comments a particular one, I was going to try the Tabula Rasa, whatever it's called, next, probably, the LMG. But if you have any weapons in particular that you are keen to see, please do post in the comments, and if I don't have it, I will farm for one. You know, I've got spare time on my hands at the moment, so I'll happily farm for one and upload a video. If you want to see it, how it performs in PvE as well, again, let me know, and I'll more than happily do a demonstration. I am potentially thinking of doing a PvE version of the Sleipnir, the Blueprint LMG from the Gunner Talent, the Gunner Specialization class, because it has I forget the name of the perk now, but yeah, it's a really good perk, and the only thing that lets it down is its reload speed. And you know, if you can buff that with weapon handling, which LMG builds should now have weapon handling, then that could actually be a very viable DPS weapon. So that's probably my thought for the next PvE one. But yeah, let me know what you think. Oh no, don't vote domination. No, somebody else vote skirmish. Ugh. Oh no. Oh, he's got the Golan and everything. Oh no. So this guy's running 5% armor regen, just to show you what that looks like. 117k per second. That is mental. Yeah, that's the way to run that build. The 2 Golan pieces, 3 Foundry, and then the 1 Murakami. I'm actually currently in the process of completing all of the Hunters, because when you do them all you get a Perfect Intimidator, which is a Golan chest piece as well, which fits into that build really nicely. I don't even know what the perfect version of Intimidate does, so I assume it just buffs the damage as opposed to the range, but I'm going to try and get that probably by the end of today, and then I might upload that build. But it's a horrible build, man. It's yeah, it's good, but it's a bit difficult to come up against. Unless you run that Strikers build that I advertised, that does seem to work really well against it.
Capture and hold more points than the enemy.
Right, let's see what we can do. I do really want to be quite careful about taking the front lines here, because I don't have a huge amount of armour. I'm running a shield again just to help out with that, and I'm hoping that Clutch is going to get me through it, but ultimately if I've got 2 or 3 people shooting into me, or 1 person with a shotgun, then I'm not going to do too well, so... Oh, well, that's a good start, team. It's one of the worst things you can do in a conflict game, because it lets them get the best area of the map first.
Ready for capture. Point Alpha is in enemy
Come on, my dudes,
hands.
push B with me.
Charlie was captured by your team.
Rogue, restore hive detected.
So Clutch actually kept me alive there. That was awesome. I don't know if you watched my armor bar there, but if not, rewind the video and go back to that. I was completely saved by Clutch there.
Detected.
This works well with Gunner as well, because you get the increased rate of fire on kill and the 10% armor as well, so it just helps when you get the kill to. But yeah, I would have propped the talent there, actually, come to think of it. The Clutch talent. This is the armor guy. Look at him go, he's just running around. Reloads, man, the reloads. So this is the problem with this build. I don't have an issue with armor regen build, but this is the problem. People just run around, and I feel that it's taken away from what the game's meant to be about, which is just raw gunplay. People just use the armor regen builds to run around until their team gets back. And it's an effective talent, but oh boy, is it boring. It is not fun to play against, nor is it fun to play. On the plus side, we do have 2 points, so... Yeah, I do think Clutch is underrated, though. It definitely works. It's actually fine this time.
Boost about to activate. Boost now active.
I mean, this is actually working for us. This guy's using his build in the right way for domination. there's the reload, so... Oh, nice.
Allies have acquired the
He's
boost.
dead. I think I might start trying to use right foam a bit more in PvP. I've seen a few players use it really effectively, and because it limits how far you can turn to about here on both sides, you can just, if they're very close to you, right foam and instantly dodge roll behind them, and there's just nothing they can do about it. But it doesn't last very long unless you're on a skill build or a status effect build.
Rogue fixer drone detected. Rogue restore hive detected. Rogue striker drone detected.
I'm trying not to use my shield edge to try and get clutch to work. Oh, look at that clutch saved my day. No, he set me on fire. Once again, clutch saved the day. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Nice. Not as bad as I thought it would
You
be.
are halfway to a win.
I always like running the scope on my gun if I can, the C79. Usually on most of my weapons, because of my builds, I typically only need to run 2 critical hit chance mods, and the other one I can just run as damage. So I was trying to make sure the scope is one of them, because sometimes it is nice just to be able to zoom in. And obviously with that increased weapon handling, it's pretty stable.
Rogue stinger hive detected.
The good thing with gunners is you just sit in cover, you just get free 10% handling. Oh, that's my teammate. Sorry, buddy.
I'm sending you a
Let me
specialization
shoot you there.
supply drop.
Okay, this is just straight up bullying now. Oh yeah, I probably should
Point
have had this
Alpha
question.
is now
My bad.
held by your team. You're in complete control. Keep it up.
They're going to spawn at A. Certainly seems that way. I'm surprised this hasn't mercied them yet, but I'm not too sure how mercy works in
Keep
domination.
going. Friendly claiming the supply drop.
The other thing was kind of hoping to do with this build as well is
The
advertise that you
enemy
don't
doesn't
necessarily
turn this
need damage
They'll be
talents
pulled
to
out.
be good. You know, when I put this build together, admittedly it was mostly just from parts that I already had and a build that I already had. But if you notice, I've got no damage talents. There's no damage talent here. There's no damage talent here. You know, Clutch and Unbreakable are both. Oh, I've got Perfectly Unbreakable on, haven't I? That's another one I could have showcased. But Clutch and Unbreakable are, obviously none of these are damage talents, so because of that I thought I would put more red onto this build and less blue just to make up for the lack of damage talents, and it could work well, but against one-shot abilities you're going to, or high sort of burst damage abilities, you're going to struggle, so... Reload pairs really nicely with Gunner as well, because every third reload is 50% faster, and yes, that does stack. I believe every gun has a base reload cap,
You've won an emphatic victory.
but for that FAMAS
Well
that's
done.
instant. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's like 0.2 of a second or something when that procs at the same time as the handling buff. So yeah, hopefully I was able to showcase those two weapon and armor talents as best as possible, but you know, please do let me know in the comments if there's any that you would like to see. I'll do my best to get hold of them if I don't have them and showcase them in PvE or PvP. I quite like the idea of running this series and just sort of trying to bring to light some of the lesser known or lesser used named items to see if they could be viable. So of course some of these games could go really badly, they might be absolutely terrible, but that's the point. I just want to test them to see how well they work. So we'll have a quick look at the damage stats at the end of the game, and then we'll call the video quits there. Again, I do want to thank everybody for their continued support. I've had a lot of likes and subscriptions over the last few days, and I do really appreciate that. So hopefully I'm doing something right for you guys. But you know, any feedback on what you want to see or what I could do better is always helpful. So that's the end of the game. Thank you if you stayed to the end of the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace.